So as we get started in this class that we're going to be working on, we're going to get you guys moving right away. So if you're sitting down, I want you on your feet. And we're going to initially start by reviewing some of the things that we've done already and play with it and see how much you remember, because we're going to mash it all together. So what we're going to do right now, guys, is start with a review of our what we call our corners game, which is when I call one, who remembers? Yes. Into nice passive stance. So, and then when I call two, where do you guys go? And what do you do? Semi-passive, very nice. And then when you hear the number three, what happens? Dun, 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 yes, into our fighting stance over there. Awesome. All right, so we're going to take a quick second and play with that, get used to it, warm your bodies up again. So we're going to get moving around, nice light little jog, guys. Keep it nice and relaxed. Don't turn it into a competitive moment, right? Two. And move. One. Go, 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 go. And move. Two. And move. Three. Go. Fighting stance. There we go. Awesome. And that's partly why we do this, right? Because we get thinking about other stuff, and we're not always cueing in off of the information that comes in. All right, so we're going to put a pin in that and come back to it, and we're going to add it in. And what I want you guys to do now is play with the different combatives that we've worked with in sort of a context of shadow boxing. We tend to call it things like solving the meat puzzle or solving the meat problem, because that's basically a big sack of meat. And if we're dealing with bodies and we want to be able to take them apart or stop them, that's a good way to think about it. So we've got lots of different skills already. We've got our palm strikes. We've got the knee. We have the kick to the groin as well. We have those elbows we worked on. And so I want you guys to just string them together and then also be thinking about the targeting. So where would you be impacting on the meat puzzle in front of you as you're playing this? And just play around with it for a couple of minutes. Cool?
Cool.
All right, go. And try to put together a couple before you reset. And when you reset, you can stop and do your move away and scan and then work from a different position. So don't always play in the same position. Don't always square off. Work from different angles, and don't always start forward. You can also start by working backwards. Nice. All right, and time. Now we're going to put all of this together. So I'm going to have you guys jog around. When I say fight, you're going to go into your shadow boxing, and when I call a number, we're going to see what happens. All right, move. Two. Move. Fight. Work the pieces. Move. Three. Go, 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 go. Move. Three. Move. Fight. Work it out. Think about all the different places that you can cause damage. Move. One. Go, 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 go. All right, children. Move. Fight. Clear. See who remembers that. Nice. Very good. All right, so we've got clear, all these different commands that we've used. Clear to move away and scan, the corners, which just put us back into our stances, and then working all the different combatives on different commands. You guys did a pretty good job. We've covered a ton of material, and it's already living in your guys' bodies. Awesome.
And once again, we're putting a lot of intensity in this because we're having some fun with it, and we want to demonstrate how it really comes together. But you don't have to start off with high intensity. You can just walk it through it just so that you can put all the pieces together. Most of all, though, just have some fun and always be safe. We're going to come back with some more drills and lessons about Krav Maga coming up right now. So Tammy, I have a question for you. In all of our other martial arts traditions, we have a tradition of bowing, of showing respect, of sort of entering into the training. Does Krav Maga have anything like that?
We do. We have a bow in at the beginning and a bow out at the end of a training session, and it's sometimes led by the instructor or a student because we're all equal on the mat, and it's a pretty simple bow.
How would we do it?
So what happens is somebody will cue it up. So in this case, I can say ready, and then we're going to bow together and say kida.
Wait. Let's see that word again. One more time.
Kida.
Kida. And what does that mean?
It means bow in Hebrew.
Got it. Okay.
Ready?
Pretty straightforward.
Ready? Kida.
Wonderful. So then if you're practicing and doing any of the drills with us, you could actually begin your practice by this bow. This is a very traditional thing in martial arts in general, that oftentimes you don't need a partner or a teacher in front of you. You bow into the space to honor the tradition of the practice itself. So you could do this with Krav also, Kida, and then begin your training. Cool. So where are we at so far in the curriculum of Krav Maga training so far?
When we start thinking about tying everything together, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to do that to use those skills effectively, it's helpful to start almost by taking things apart and understanding how the body works and the different patterns of movement, which also reflect our head space. So we have 4 essential rhythms that we're going to play with that reflect head space and response time, and we're going to begin with that.
Got it. Well, that sounds like an excellent exercise for me to step off. I'm going to let you practice with Andy and Jesse, and I'll be back in a minute.
Cool.
Kida.
Kida. All right. So we have 4 rhythms that we're going to work with, and I'm going to run through them verbally, and then we're going to run through them physically, and then we'll break them apart. So the rhythms start with what we call a disconnected rhythm, and then the next rhythm would be what we call broken rhythm. From there, we move into a shattered rhythm, and then the last one is the simultaneous rhythm. So running through them all, I'm going to start with just working all of them off the same stimulus. So just a good old nice solid right sucker punch coming in on a cross. And I'm going to work with Jesse and have him come in and do a disconnected rhythm response to that sucker punch. Nice. And then moving from the disconnected rhythm over to the broken rhythm, I'm going to fire off and hit Andy, and she's going to come in with that broken response. Nice. Ping-ponging back over here to you. Same stimulus. Now we're going to work with a shattered rhythm response. Ready?
Ready.
Nice. And then the last one, simultaneous. I'm going to come back over here to Andy, and she's going to, same stimulus, she's going to do a simultaneous response. Very nice. So let's get down to the first 2. We have our disconnected, and we have our broken response. The disconnected response, the reason why we say it's disconnected is as I hit, this part of his body moves, it completes, and then the rest of his body goes, oh yeah, I should do something else, and it comes in. So they're completely disconnected movements. If we take the same stimulus, and now we're going to make it more of a broken response so that the parts are not quite so far apart in movement. They're a little bit closer together, but the action's still broken. Here's the stimulus response. She's going to move. Oh, yeah, and then she's going to hit. So it's a little bit more tied together than what we saw Jessie do, but there's still some space between point A and point B. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to face you guys. And I'm give it a mark. I'll say, okay, go. And these guys are going to do their techniques. He's going to do the disconnected response, and you're going to do the broken response, shadowing it or dry drilling it, no partner. And so you can see the difference. And we'll do it a couple of times for you. Ready? Go. Nice. And reset. We'll do that again. So again, here's my disconnected, and over here is my broken rhythm. Ready? Go. Nice. Very good. Okay. So now we'll go to the next 2. One of the things that you were noticing Andy doing is what we have funny names for the things in our curriculum. It's the 1.5 inside defense, or inside defense with a 1.5 rhythm, and hence that sort of broken nature, 1.5. And so she's defending with that inside defense, and then she's moving offline, and there's the strike, the counter. So moving into now more of the concept of a shattered rhythm where it's going to be more ta-ta. Things are going to move closer together. We can take the same defensive response, but we can tighten it up. So here, Jesse's going to do essentially the same movement, the 1.5 defense, but he's going to do it from a shattered rhythm perspective. So we're now. Nice. Let's do that again, but let's turn it around, just from a visual standpoint. And nice. So it's tighter, it's closer, it's more ta-ta in our actions. All right, so that's our shattered response. And now coming back over here to Andy, we're going to get into the simultaneous response. Literally meaning I want 2 actions moving simultaneously as much as possible. So we're going to go very slow to start with so we can piece it out. Inside defense and a strike at the same time. And from here, she's going to recoil that back out, and then she can continue with whatever rhythm or pattern she wants to use. Okay, so here we have our shattered response, and here we have our simultaneous response. We'll do the same thing again. We're going to do them a couple of times so that everybody can see what we've got and see the difference between the two on ready, go kind of movement. Cool?
Cool.
All right, ready? Go. Nice. Reset. Ready? Go. Nice. Reset. Oh, let's do one more for fun. Ready? Go. And reset. I want to do one more comparison, and then we're going to tie this to headspace. So our very first one was the completely disconnected pattern. So I strike, inside defense, and then he's like, oh yeah, I should kick. The last one is that simultaneous movement where I strike, and not only is she defending, but immediately she's hitting me back, and then continuing on with other ways to make sure I can't keep going. Nice. So mindset. In this disconnected response, I've caught Jesse by surprise. Mentally, he gets a little frozen. He's not sure what to do. He doesn't get hit, so good on him. But the rest of him is a little slow to come to the party before he counters. So this is a headspace that would be unprepared for the environment or unprepared for the circumstances that are happening, and it comes back to the party. So he's just standing there hanging out with his friends, and I do something stupid, and he's like, oh, why did this female try to come up and smack me? This makes no sense at all. Whereas here, this has already happened. She's watching. There's a little tussle going on the other side. I walk up to her. She's ready, and her headspace is completely different, and she can respond immediately. One of the things that sits in the background for us when we start talking about headspace and mindset is understanding that there are 4 elements in every violent encounter that you have, regardless of the type of violent encounter, whether it's a bar fight, it's a mugging on the street, it's an ATM holdup, it doesn't matter, home invasion. There are 4 elements that are always in play. You, and it's not the you that's us right now, like on the mat, having a good time, comfortable headspace. It's the you under threat. And unless you've been there before, you don't know who that is. So there's a lot of the adrenaline cocktail that's going to change how you react. We like to think, once we've had some training, that we're going to be basically all dynamic. And when I hit her, she's like always going to be able to come in and knock me out. And I'm awesome, right? The reality is going to be more, a lot of our responses are going to look like that disconnected response initially. So who I am under stress, the threat, I don't know their headspace. I don't know why they've chosen me. That's an unknown I can't control for. And then we have the environment and we have luck. This environment's nice and clean and comfortable, but most places that we're in aren't, and the luck of the draw works to my advantage as well as it works to the threat's advantage. So playing with those rhythms also helps us set some mindset. And you can work with that yourself as well by just playing with different patterns of moving together or moving your body separately. So if you guys want to work those different rhythms with each other, you can do that. So let's get you guys paired up, and this will give you a chance to play with it a little bit at home as well. So for safety reasons, we're going to go ahead and go back to a palm strike, because if you are a little slow on the uptake, then you're actually going to eat this, and that's not a good idea. And this is a little nicer from a training standpoint. We'll put both of you guys in your fighting stance. Okay. And for fun, we're going to let you hit first, all right, and you're going to run that disconnected, startled response.
Sounds good.
You're moving out and scanning because he's startled. It gives him some time to collect some headspace. Cool? All right, now you can hit her, and this is going to be more of that broken response.
Okay.
Little parting gift there, and she's going to move out and check. Okay, and then we'll change roles again. I'll let you hit Jesse, and Jesse's going to come in on that shattered. He's very ready to go. He's responsive, moving out, scanning, checking for friends and family he needs to be aware of as well. And the last one, a shattered. Last one's that simultaneous. Nice job moving out. Okay, cool.
I always have to confess that when I watch from the sidelines, I get jealous because I want to be in there playing as well. Looks like a lot of fun. So there's a couple of principles that we've already laid down that Tammy has shared with us about Krav Maga. And one of them is that the problem dictates the solution. So whatever is happening, whatever your attacker brings, and as well as the environment, as well as the mindset that you're in, that will dictate what you then do in response to that attack.
That is correct.
The other principle is that there are no real rules. So everything goes. You use what you need to use to create the solution for that problem.
Yep.
Terrific. So we're going to learn more about that, and that's coming up right now. So Tammy's already let us know that in any altercation, there's a number of different elements involved. There's you and your mindset under stress. There's your attacker, which you don't know what their mindset is. And there's also the environment. And I was very curious because the environment often involves other people, not just you and the attacker.
And that's where we come into one of the bigger backstories associated with teaching self-defense. So it doesn't do me any good to teach somebody how to be able to physically defend themselves if the end result or the aftermath of that puts them in court being charged with assault. And unfortunately, there are cases that walk themselves all the way out, and then people actually end up with sentences as a result of defending themselves.
So how do we deal with that then?
So there are different ways that we work in our training, and then different things that we're programming mentally. And one of the big ones is a concept we call witness conditioning.
Witness conditioning. Tell me more about that.
Witness conditioning is a mindset for me as an individual who may have to defend myself that's designed to prime my environment, i.e. the people, potential witnesses, to have understood then later if they're giving a report as to what they observed or happened, that their report reflects what really took place, that I was defending myself versus just picking you out of the crowd to assault.
Got it. That would be very important. Right?
It's critical.
If somebody came in
information.
like halfway through the altercation and didn't know exactly what happened, you could be at risk of being the aggressor.
Yes, because that's when the cell phone comes out.
Got it.
And they miss the beginning of that. So we've got to be able to provide information, as odd as this sounds, while I'm defending myself, that helps the individuals who may prove to be beneficial witnesses to actually support my actions in the long run.
So what does that look like in real time? What is witness conditioning? Is it sounds? Is it body language? What happens there?
It's mostly verbal.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for that is that if you and I are all tangled up in a dynamic, so just for a quick second, like if you put your hands on my neck in the choke, and I've started this choke defense, and we get all tangled up, and this is when somebody walks in to see what we're doing, it's very hard to know who started it or who's doing what, and it moves really fast.
Right.
So it's hard for somebody to be able to say what the body was doing, but it's much easier for me to remember what I heard. So they can say something like, I had no idea. I couldn't tell who was hitting who. There were arms and, legs flying everywhere. But he or she, whoever the intended target there is, he or she kept saying, stop hitting me, leave me alone, get off. And for that to work, we have to do it in tandem with actually executing the defense.
Got it. Well, this sounds like a good opportunity for me to walk out and have you work with Andy and Jesse so we can see what witness conditioning actually looks like and sounds like.
Yep, absolutely.
Kida.
Kida. All right. So we're going to set a bigger picture or a bigger context for this by also walking in or bringing into this a new technique, if you will. We've talked about ambush level attacks and the intention and mindset of the attacker, which is dictating what's happening. And so we have to come at the response in a way that's going to be effective. So you guys come up here to the middle for me, if you would.
Sure.
And we're staging this, so obviously this happens, more ambush style. But what I'm going to have Jesse do is reach out with both hands and grab onto a wrist of Andy's or an arm. Let's just go ahead and get one for now. Good. And both on. There you go. And as he reaches out to grab her for this, it isn't to say hello. This is not like, hey, how are you? This is not how we greet each other. This is a bad day. From here, his goal is to take her or remove her, and so he's going to start hauling her off. Nice. All right, that's the problem. So, one of the instinctive responses to that problem for the person in Andy's position is to dig in. So she digs down, and can you guys hold that for a second? All right, so her arm suddenly has become the rope in a game of tug of war. This is a really bad day for her. He's a lot stronger than her. He is eventually going to overpower this position, and by the time he does, she's drained because she's used a ton of energy to try and stay put ineffectively. So mindset is to get her out of that space and to trigger and respond and come at him, which then is going to make her look like the one who was potentially the aggressor. So I'm going to have Andy do the full response. We're going to do this at full speed, and then we're going to slow it down. So we're going to move you guys back here a little bit, so just you guys have a little bit more room to work with. And when you're ready, just grab her and go. Nice. And notice she didn't back up and just look at him and stare and see what he was going to do next, right? She's like, I'm out of here. Because this is very aggressive, it's very dynamic. She doesn't want to put herself in harm's way for another potential attack. So, slowing this down, the attack comes in. He's going to grab, and his purpose is to pull. Mentally, a lot of us want to sink in, and that's what creates a problem for her. So she feels that bracing. What I want her to do is relax and steal from his energy. No rules. We're going to cheat as much as we can. She's going to steal his energy and start hitting and striking, whatever she can with whatever she's got available to her. When he stops moving or begins to let go, she can bring her legs into the picture and then get herself to safety. So coming back in one more time for me. As he grabs and goes slowly again, she's coming in on this defensive response and freeze. One of the things that we want, sort of fundamental principles of our training mindset is, I want him to either not be able to continue his attack because I've physically disabled him from continuing, or I want to be such a hot mess all over him that all he wants to do is get away. This technique creates the opportunity, or this response creates the opportunity for both. So let's reset. I want you to do it at full speed one more time, and then we're going to talk about how witness conditioning becomes a part of that. Go get her.
Come on with me.
Nice. So if you notice, if you walk in after the first 2 seconds of that, all you see is Andy beating the crap out of Jesse. And if you pulled out your cell phone, this is the one who's going to get charged for assault. So what we're going to do is add some verbal information. This is going to do a couple of things for her. One, it's going to allow her to shift her own headspace so she gets frozen or stuck or frightened and drops into space. It'll trigger her to move out of that. Two, it's going to get her breathing, and we do have a tendency to hold our breath under stress, which drains energy. And three, it's going to let the people around us know that the real aggressor was Jesse. You ready? All right.
Hey, you're coming with me. You're coming with me.
Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me! Leave me alone! Get out of here! Nice. So we're going to slow motion that for a second because I want you to think about something. He's going to reach in and grab and verbal.
Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me!
Freeze. Who's doing the hitting? It's not him. But her verbal information, or you guys can let go of it. Her verbal information cues everybody around her, potential witnesses, that he's a problem. He's a threat. Unless somebody has videotaped it and slows it down frame by frame, if they're being interviewed by law enforcement later, if she calls in the threat, somebody comes in and takes an interview on the case, what we're likely to hear from the bystanders who didn't start out staring at them, but maybe turned because they heard her, is something like, I couldn't really tell, it was hard to see, it was dark, lots of arms and legs moving, it was hard to see what was happening. He must have been beating the crap out of her, though, because she kept saying, stop hitting me, leave me alone. This is what we call witness conditioning. We want the people around us, if they're there, to stop what they're doing and turn and see. And then we want what they see to match what happened realizing that they probably missed the onset of the assault. Cool?
Cool.
All right. So from a witness conditioning standpoint, mindset-wise, we talked about the verbalization and the being able to breathe and all that kind of good stuff. Her being able to bring that voice to the party makes a big difference. In fact, what I want to do here with you guys for a second is I'm going to have you come back in, and I want you to base out in that I'm not going with you, and I want you to start to stop hitting me and you say all of that, and then we're going to freeze it. I'm going to ask you a question. Okay?
Come on with
Stop hitting me! Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Stop hitting me! Stop hitting
And
me!
freeze. Cool. Okay, let her go. Okay, so for you personally, the difference between stop hitting me and stop hitting me, how would you describe that?
100% different, even with all my training. It was, I felt like a victim. And I felt overpowered.
In which one?
In the second one. In the where I was resisting and stuck.
Okay, cool. So what's really, really cool is the way that our brains are wired and the way our brains process language and information. Even though her words are saying, stop hitting me, but she's stuck and not moving, it leaves her mentally conditioned to be a potential victim for additional response. But if we put it together, then she's going to respond even better. And that's going to help her out in the long run when we talk about emotional aftermath.
Again, listening to it from the side here, and really I mean listening to it, what this reminds me a lot of is in other martial arts we have a kiai or a ki-up in Taekwondo, for example. And we talked about this as we looked at some of the other martial arts, is that this is an aspect which is actually more difficult sometimes than throwing a punch or a kick. Just getting the sound to come out of your mouth is something you have to practice, because in an attack situation, in the ambush, if you've never practiced this before, making those sounds come out of your mouth, stop hitting me, leave me alone, the witness conditioning, it'll be like this.
It'll get stuck.
It'll get stuck. So believe it or not, this is something you can do in the mirror. Go into the classroom, get yourself in an environment in which everybody's doing it so it doesn't feel so odd, but practice that, make the sound come out of your mouth. And that's how you're going to put many of these pieces together. Again, there is no secret technique. There's no magic formula. We get best at what we practice most. So practice is the key ingredient for Krav Maga as well as for all the other martial arts. And I think that's what's going to keep us coming back. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, having a chance to live out a boyhood dream of just investigating all kinds of different martial arts and even getting paid for it. It's been an exhausting program, but I feel like I've learned so much. So in this program, we've had a chance to experience for ourselves an introduction to some of the most well-known martial arts in the world. You've had a rare opportunity to get introduced to the martial arts by some of the world's best practitioners in every style. It's a little bit like getting your introductory painting lesson from Picasso or taking your freshman course in physics from Einstein. But now let's focus on how to find a class near you so that you can choose a teacher at a school. Most communities now have a variety of martial arts schools, and a basic internet search should quickly turn up several schools or programs in your local area. Choosing a martial arts school now, a martial arts program, or a particular martial arts teacher is a lot like buying a new car. It's imperative to take a test drive. So this program has introduced you to a variety of martial arts styles, and now you can follow your own interests. Now, this may guide you into investigating a particular style, perhaps because of its history, the way it looks, or because its philosophy resonates with your spirit. But if you want a great experience in pursuing the martial arts training, always focus on the teacher instead of the style. And this brings up an important question. Why do you want to study the martial arts? As we've seen, practicing a martial art has numerous benefits for physical fitness, self-defense, mental training. As one of my instructors said, some people come in for the fitness classes, but they stay because they discover they really like the self-defense. And other people come in for the self-defense, but stay because they find themselves getting in great shape. It's also perfectly legitimate to take up a martial arts out of curiosity. I'd venture to say that, in fact, a majority of students start this way. What's it like? Can Can I do it? Will I really learn how to fight or develop ninja-like skills? But at some point, to continue in your practice, you'll have to ask yourself the question, why am I studying the martial arts? It's actually one of the mental training lessons we learn as we practice, as we train, as we get deeper into the martial arts. Training in the martial arts and combat sports is deliberately tough, physically and emotionally challenging, to the point that it pushes many people out of the practice. It's kind of like a built-in weeding out property of martial arts training. But when that happens, the majority of the time, it's because the student has not delved deeply into their own internal motivations. You have to have your own reason for training, just like you have to have your own reason for working at a particular job or being in a particular relationship. To make them last, you have to love them for your own sake. You have to have a passion for them that withstands any challenge. To paraphrase Nietzsche, someone who has a why to live or to practice martial arts can withstand almost any how. I wish you good luck and great joy in exploring the martial arts for your mind and body. And maybe someday I'll see you in my class.